when you get in the village, there's this huge green and you see these huge Olympic rings and I'm like, I'm here, like my dream came true. And so, yeah, it's incredible to be there. Also to cross that finish line, of that Olympic race, because then in my mind, I could say I am an Olympian. It gives me like goosebumps just to think about it.
Joining us in the studio today is a two-time Olympian from Jericho, Vermont. She's also a two-time elite cross-country national champion, an 8-time U.S. national champion, and a 2-time world champion medalist. She's a graduate of Middlebury College, where she competed as a downhill ski racer. Her passion is getting the next generation of women riding mountain bikes. Please welcome Lea Davison. Hey, Lea.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So good to have you on the show. Lea, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Vermont, at home in southern Vermont. So it's currently snowing a little bit and we're supposed to get like 2 feet actually. So I'm very excited about that.
Have you gotten out on the bike today or on skis, something active?
Yes, I have done. I actually went for a little run outside before this podcast and then I did a little strength. So no skiing, no riding, but running instead.
All right. What are you going to do tomorrow?
I hopefully will ski. So if I can get up the mountain to ski some powder, I'm going to ski.
What's your local mountain that you ski at?
Bromley Resort. So I'm close to Stratton Mountain and Bromley in southern Vermont. And Bromley's more of like, it's closer and it's like more of a family mountain. So I love to ski there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love your sweatshirt. For those of you listening on the audio only podcast platform, apologies, but Lea has the coolest SRAM sweatshirt on that I think we've ever made.
Yeah, it is for sure the coolest sponsor piece that I've ever had. So thank you for making it.
Yeah, there's sort of a rainbow SRAM logo. And what color would you say that the base color is?
I would say it's like an aqua blue. What would you call it?
There's an egg. There's a famous bird's egg that's got that blue. I forget what it's called.
Is it
maybe
a robin's egg?
Robin's nest blue? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that would do it justice.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of matches my bike in the background too.
Oh, I know, right? I'm glad you have your bike. So if you notice, I've got a bike over my shoulder, and I try to get bikes that are sponsor correct, and I put them behind me just to sort of be synergistic with our sponsorship. But I couldn't find an Allied today. So
no way. Okay, we got to get one over your way.
I have one at home, and I didn't put the two pieces together. So
yep.
Next time.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lea, you're familiar with the format of the show, right? We just go through a series of different sections. The first section sort of anchors us in the foundation of Lea and who she is and where she came from. So you ready to get into it?
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Okay. So tell us, where were you born?
I was born in Syracuse, New York. And at the age of 5, my parents moved to Vermont because they wanted to be more in the mountains, closer to skiing. And I grew up in northern Vermont.
Any brothers or sisters?
I have a younger sister, 2 years younger.
What does your sister do, and where is she in the world?
She is also in Vermont. She's in northern Vermont, and she is the executive director of Little Bellas.
All right.
Yeah.
That is super cool. In the family, keeping it in the family. I love it. What did your parents do growing up?
So my dad was an electrical engineer at IBM, and my mom has her MBA, and she worked at IBM for a little while doing their finances. And then, let's see, where else did she work? General Dynamics, which is like a defense company out of Vermont. And she worked for the government a little bit. But I think her sole job was before I was born. She actually worked in a leadership position for the Girl Scouts. So I think that's where my sister and I got a lot of our ability to work with kids. And, Little Bellas kind of has a similar vibe as the Girl Scouts. So it was kind of passed on to us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So growing up in Vermont with your parents, they wanted to relocate there because of skiing, right? So initially?
Yes. Downhill skiing.
All
Yep.
right. So I'm assuming the whole family is into skiing, right?
Yes. You are correct.
So was that sort of the first physical sport slash activity that you got into?
Yeah, it was. Well, my mom and dad, they are feminists, and my mom grew up pre-Title IX. So she is a very competitive person. She loves playing sports, being outside, but she never got the opportunity to do that growing up. So as a result, she threw my sister and I in every single sport opportunity possible. So we grew up doing everything, downhill ski racing, running cross country. We took windsurfing lessons. We did swim team for a summer, which did not go well. We played baseball, softball, everything. And the two sports that really stuck were downhill ski racing and in high school, running. I discovered running cross country. So those were my main two sports in high school.
Would you say the same for your sister?
Yes, I would. Yeah, she was also a runner, also a downhill ski racer. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And so, we're going to fast forward a little bit into high school. Um, when you grow up in a ski town, like skiing is actually considered a class, right? You actually get credit to go to the mountain and ski, right? Were you one of those people?
Yeah, well, I actually didn't get into it through that, but yes, there are many programs associated with elementary schools, middle schools, high schools in Vermont that have skiing as an after school activity or even gym class. My parents brought us to this small little ski area. Now it's about 15 minutes away, called Cochrane Ski Area, like every weekend. I mean, we're there all the time. And the Cochrane family is a legendary Olympic family. Barbara Ann Cochrane won the Olympic gold medal in slalom in, I believe, the
Sure.
70s. And so we kind of grew up skiing around this family at Cochrane's. And it was really there that laid the foundation for my entire, I would say, athletic career, because it made the Olympics, it normalized going to the Olympics, and it
Right.
kind of made it a tangible dream because I grew up skiing around Olympian. So, yeah, I would say it all began skiing at Cochrane's.
Tell me, who were some of your idols or heroes of the sport at that time?
Oh, man. It's the classic in skiing, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go skiing first.
Peekaboo Street.
Peekaboo
She
Street.
was the big one at that time. Also, Alberto Tamba was a huge star in the sport. So I really followed them pretty closely. I would say those were my two idols growing up skiing.
Do you follow skiing in the Olympics today?
Yes, very passionately. Like my wife Fraser and I, she also grew up ski racing in Vermont. And we watch all of the Nordic races, all of the World Cups, and all of the downhill races, and we have friends in those races. So it's really fun to follow both of those sports.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward then into college. Like, were you on this journey? You were going to be a competitive Olympian skier, right? Was that your track?
Yes, I mean, that was definitely the goal growing up, coming through the ranks and in middle school, high school. But ski racing is tough because if at that time, if you hadn't made it in high school to that really high level, and to the US ski team, it was pretty much over, right? So, and kind of going at that time, it's different now, but going to college was kind of the kiss of death on your alpine ski racing career. So,
Right.
I was absolutely going for the Olympics. That was the dream. And then at the end of high school, I discovered mountain biking. So I got into Middlebury College for running and alpine ski racing. And that was the plan going in. But that summer, I qualified for the Junior World Championships. And it was then that was the kindling for my professional cycling career. And, I did this national race at Mount Snow, Vermont, and I won it as a junior, and USA Cycling came up to me and said, "Hey, you won this race. You qualified for the World Championships." And I thought, what? Like, there's a World Championships for this? So in that moment, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I could do this for a job. This is my Olympic path. So game on. I'm going to go for it. So, I balanced all of those sports for the first year of college, but then I tore my ACL ski racing at the end of my freshman year. So that was kind of the universe going, okay, ski racing, this is not your path, because I was still very dedicated to ski racing at that time. And hey, you should focus on bike racing because this is it for you. So that was kind of the push into that sport. Yeah.
Fascinating. And the torn ACL, did that hinder your cycling path at that time, or was it a quick enough recovery?
Oh man, that is a good question. So I tore it in the spring of my first season, coming into my first season as a pro. So I was racing junior. They didn't have U23s at the time. And so I was going directly into the elite field.
Elites.
And I had the whole season planned out. And I'm like, no, like, what am I going to do? And my strength coach at the time said, yeah, we can still do this. You can still race a bike with a torn ACL. So I actually did not get it fixed. And I would not recommend that, because it hurt. It would hurt climbing. I couldn't train to my full capabilities. I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but I raced that full season and then got it fixed after that season. I didn't have great results. And I realized that when I was racing fully healthy, because then I just took off, right? Yeah. Like I had a great season. So
Right. I'm curious, before we jump into the heart of your career, what did you study in Middlebury besides skiing, running, and cycling?
Yeah. I was an environmental studies major with a focus in conservation biology.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you weren't a professional athlete today, what would your career track have been? Like, what would you be doing today? Would we call you doctor or something?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, I think I would be, after Middlebury, I realized like, oh, I should have probably minored or double majored in sociology, because that was the most interesting part of my environmental studies major. I was studying a lot of different sides of it, and it was kind of the study of humans and society and the interaction with that and the environment. So I think I would be doing something with people and either, curbing climate change or our impact on the environment, or, something with empowering women, kind of what I'm doing anyway, but through the cycling world. Or originally I was like, I'm going to be a free skier, like a professional free skier. So I always wanted to be a professional athlete, but what sport? That was the question.
That's so cool. All right, Lea, let's jump into your career growth as a professional cyclist. So you're in Middlebury, you haven't graduated yet, you tore your ACL. Your coach told you, don't worry about it. You'll be good. You were good. You were better when you were healthy, which is awesome. But then you started to, get noticed by others. And tell us about the transition from being that junior champ to sort of becoming elite and your first like legit team.
Yeah. So through that, I mean, it is not easy, as I'm sure you're aware of. You're working hard, you're trying to get the best results possible. I was lucky to be on Team Devo at the time. So this was like the legendary team that existed, that a lot of talent came out of in that generation. And so that Team Devo functioned as a straight up trade team. we traveled around in an 18-wheeler. It was my sister and I, the only two women on a team of like 18 junior guys and U23 guys. And we all drove in this like 18-wheeler around the country, hitting up all the Norbas. So the US races were part of the Norba circuit, they were called. So it was a great way. It was a great introduction to the sport with a lot of support, and it was really fun. So I loved it, and I learned a lot. I mean, John Kemp, who ran that team, ran it as a pro team, and I learned so much about being professional in this sport. And so I would say the real moment where everything crystallized was I was a senior at Middlebury. I had been racing in these elite races. And at that time, when I was a senior, they actually, for the national championships, they separated out the U23s finally. And John Kemp like sits me down before this race and says, you know, kid, you have to win this race. I mean, that was it. If you want to get
no pressure,
signed to a team, you have to win this race. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But he was right. I mean, I kind of like, it gives me goosebumps to think about not winning this race and what would have, happened to me. But so I won that race, thank goodness. And then I got signed to Trek VW.
Right.
So that was my first pro team. And thankfully, it really lined up with me graduating from Middlebury. And I did have to work a fall as a waitress because I didn't know if I was going to get signed. So I was saving up money to go do a whole season, if I had to on my own dime. And luckily I got signed to Trek VW.
So amazing.
Yeah.
How many years then were you on Trek VW?
I want to say it was 3 years. So that rookie season was a rough one, and it kind of ended abruptly when I dislocated my elbow in a crash. And so I recovered from that. That took 6 weeks in the middle of the season, and then I got mono at the end of that. So I had a tough rookie season, but luckily, I had a 2-year contract, or they signed a re-up, and then I had either 1 or 2 full seasons on that team.
Right. Aside from the physical or medical challenges you had, rookie season on a big pro team like that can be challenging, right? What were some of the most difficult things that you either learned or had to go through in that first year?
Yeah, I think, first off, it was very, very exciting. I mean, the first time we got all of the stuff and the kits, and I mean, this was in like the heyday of mountain biking. So I actually got a car. I literally got a Volkswagen GTI that was all logoed up. So amazing. I'm like, this is the life. I mean, I was like on cloud 9. I would say my biggest challenge was learning that this is a full-time job, right? This is not just, I'm not going to school. I'm not trying to balance these other things. I'm not in college anymore. So I need to make all the decisions centered around performing and training. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't eating right. It was kind of like the full lifestyle I had to learn and get on board with. And I think that's the reason, honestly, I got mono. I mean, I was like so run down.
Right.
And from everything, all the things that you need to do off the bike to support the level of training that you need to race at that level.
Lea, at that time, did the team have the resources? Like, did they have a nutritionist, and did they have, a mental coach? Did they have all those resources for you, or were you having to sort of scrap that together?
Yeah, I was just at the beginning of scrapping that together. They did not have any of those resources for me. I mean, it was a phenomenal team, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
But I feel like that was early, early in the olden days, like when there weren't like the full support teams now that they have on these big pro teams. So yeah, that was also part of the learning throughout my career, and I got better and better at it, is okay, I need to construct my own support team and build those relationships that I need. And also, in the second half of my career, that the U.S. Olympic Committee and Paralympic Committee provided, as well as USA Cycling. I mean,
Right.
I got all of my nutritionist, mental coach, sleep specialist, everything, sports physiologist through those two organizations, which is pretty incredible.
That's incredible. Absolutely. Well, some of those things probably came natural to you because you either had a passion for it or interest in it. What were some of the harder things, though, to sort of master?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would say some of the harder things to master.
Like nutrition for me is a tough one.
Yeah.
Like it's just so foreign, right? Like I work for a bike parts company, and I just don't know enough about nutrition.
Yes.
Some people it's
Yes.
sleep, some people it's strength training. Like what was the
Yeah.
hard one for you?
I would say the numbers. Actually, like the numbers part. I had hard work down pat, right? Like I know how to work hard, and I have a very specific style. I feel like I have a different personality than most professional cyclists. Like I'm not triple type A. I will do the work and I will get every workout done to like the best of my ability, but I'm not like a numbers cruncher, right? So when power came in, even heart
Yeah.
rate. So my biggest challenge was finding a coach that matched with my style and
Yeah.
that also understood that I live in Vermont. I love to ski. I don't work best 365 days on the bike. Like I work best when I'm cross training and I'm Nordic skiing and I'm doing these other sports that are going to prepare me very well for cycling, but I need a coach that is able to understand that and understand me. So once I found Andy Bishop, which was probably, I worked with him actually in the lead up to my first world championships in 2001, which is amazing. So he coached me for like a month leading up. And so I got like a little glimpse of, oh gosh, this is what it could be like, because I never knew what workout Andy was going to give me, right? There's some coaches that are cookie cutter, plug and play. And Andy and I are very day to day. And I love that because I can't be bored.
Yeah.
And I need someone that's going to like work with my style. And he has the same style. So once I found him, then we everything took off.
That's amazing. Lea, let's fast forward a little bit now. You've gotten a ton of success in your career, from national championships to world championships to the Olympics. I want to talk about the Olympics a little bit. And, obviously the Olympics and ski racing was a dream early on,
Yeah.
but now you've transitioned pretty fully into becoming a bike racer. Was there a moment then that you said, you know what? I think I want to do this Olympics thing with cycling? And like, was that early on, or when did you realize that, hey, wait a minute, I could also go to the Olympics with cycling and not just skiing?
That was day one.
Okay.
I was like, literally, once I figured out there was a Olympic mountain bike race, I'm like, that's it. I'm doing this. Because it truly was love at first sight or love at first ride. I mean, this sport combined like the endurance that I had and that kind of race experience and pushing my limits physically from cross-country running with the bike handling and the line choice from downhill skiing. So I'm like, this is my sport. So it was all eyes on that goal from the moment I discovered it.
All right, let's talk about the Olympics. Most people that are sort of competitive athletes, or many people that are competitive athletes, they often dream of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And getting to one Olympics is like a massive, massive accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
You've been to two. Tell us about your first.
Oh, the first, yeah, it's unbelievable, really. And, it wasn't without some challenges. So I qualified for my first Olympics, London 2012, 2 years after a major, major hip injury and major hip surgery. So my decisions around that and when to get surgery, once I finally diagnosed what it was, those were all around what is going to best set me up for qualifying for London. So I got surgery early in 2010, and that would give me, I took that entire season off to fully recover and get strong and get fit again. And then, so that would give me a full race season in 2011 to get on the Olympic long team and then hopefully qualify from that long team for London. And it happened. Yeah, it happened.
So tell me, what did you do that year that you took off recovering from your hip surgery? What did you do then? Did you work? Did you play? Did you recover?
I recovered. I mean, it was a full-time job to recover as best as possible from my hip surgery and to get strong again and then to gradually get on the bike. I mean, I did have more time than in a normal bike season because I'm not like,
right,
traveling and everything. So I bought a drum set. And because I always wanted to play drums and I'm like, okay, I'm going to play drums and learn how to play drums, which I did a little bit, not as much. I should have taken lessons. I didn't get a chance to take lessons, but
yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have the drum set?
I do. It's in my basement in the gym. So sometimes in between sets I play.
That's cool. What was USA Cycling supportive in your rehab?
Yes, they, so I've gotten 2 hip surgeries. So they were very supportive and played a big role in 2014, post hip surgery. So in linking me up with, I'm not, I can't ride the bike. It's getting a little pinchy. So, linking me up with a bike fit, then they linked me up with Andy Pruitt and kind of did everything that they could to get me back on the bike and functioning at that high level. But it was majority me, in the lead up to 2012, because I hadn't qualified for the Olympics or been on the highest level, right? The highest level of the sport.
Okay, so you recovered from your surgery in 2011-ish. You qualify for the team.
Yeah.
You fly to London, and tell us about like that, the village and then the lead up to the race and then the race.
Yeah, it gives me like goosebumps just to think about it. Flying to the Olympics and landing there, that's when you start to realize like, holy moly, like when you get in the village, that I am at the Olympics. We got into our building, got into our rooms, Georgia Gould, and there were 2 huge bags of Olympic clothing waiting for us. And they all say like US Olympic team and Team USA. And I'm like putting on this sweatshirt and going, like, oh my gosh, I made it to the Olympics. And then looking out the window and you see the Olympic rings on the quad. Like there's this huge green and you see these huge Olympic rings and I'm like, I'm here, like my dream came true. And so, it's incredible to be there. And also to cross that finish line, of that Olympic race, because then in my mind, I could say I am an Olympian.
Yeah.
And once an Olympian, you're always an Olympian. You carry that title with you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How about opening? I don't think I've asked an Olympian this question.
Ooh, yeah.
Opening ceremonies. How cool, as a spectator or a viewer back at home watching on television, it's this, 4-hour ceremony that's just so long but so exciting. What is that like for you, walking into the stadium with the music and the procession? What is that like?
So this is funny, and I feel like it's a little known fact that at the Olympics, the mountain bike race is the second to last day, and the Olympics run like 3 weeks, right? So I have never been to an opening ceremony because it's the first thing. And there are a lot of Olympians with a lot of sports that come in and out, right? So they need to open up the room. So there are rarely Olympians that get to stay there for the full 3 weeks. So I have been to closing ceremonies. I've watched the opening ceremonies at home like normal, and it's kind of like a surreal experience because in that moment, I'm like at London, I'm like, yeah, I'm like,
there.
whoa, check those guys out. Like I'm like fangirling all the Olympians. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, I'm an Olympian. So that's kind of a weird moment. But yeah, walking into the closing ceremonies, first off, they give you, the outfit and they style you. Like they want to make sure that everyone is looking good. So you're like styled in this outfit, and you have the opportunity to go to the Procter and Gamble house, and they have like an Olympic house for Team USA, and you can get your hair done and your makeup done. And then the closing ceremonies is a lot of waiting, to walk, like you're on like in the bowels of the stadium, like in parking garages, and like in the parking garage, and you're kind of just like walking down slowly with all the Olympians. And it's a very, it's a huge celebration because everyone's finally relaxed, right? You've done the race, you've completed hopefully the biggest moment of your life, and now you get to celebrate. And man, being in that stadium in London, that was like the best concert I have ever been to. I mean, the Spice Girls are driving around the track on top of little Mini Coopers, singing. I mean, it was awesome. So yeah, it's truly like the experience of a lifetime.
All right. And for the listeners, for our audience tuning in, how did you do in that bike race?
I came in 11th in London, and in Rio, I came in 7th.
Okay. But once an Olympian, always an Olympian.
Yep, exactly.
I'm going to ask you another question. It's not on the list, but I've been asking anyone that's attended the Olympics this question. What would you rather have? The rainbow stripes of a world championship jersey or a gold medal?
This is a question that my coach and I have talked a lot about. And man, I feel like that is the hardest question to answer. I would, I don't know if I have an answer. I'm just going to say world champion because you get to wear the stripes forever on your jersey. And, that's very well known in the cycling world. Like everyone knows that. But man, I would take either. I would not be picky. I would be picky.
It's funny.
What would you do? What's your choice?
Well, I mean, first I'd have to be a competitive athlete, which I'm not. But I would say Olympic gold.
Yeah.
Because I may be a bit biased because I'm being influenced by how other people have answered this question, and
Yeah.
it's influenced my decision. But here's the theory. If you were to survey 1,000 people in the
Oh,
world
yeah.
and ask them if they've ever heard of the Olympics, I bet you 1,000 people would say, yes, I've never heard of the Olympics.
Hmm.
Those same 1,000 people, have you ever heard of the World Championships of mountain biking? They might be like, no, what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where I would say, well, I'll go for, but it can't just be like, have to be Olympic gold.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the dream. I mean, that would be so special to be able to share with the world. If you can bring an Olympic medal around and put it around, have kids hold it. I mean,
Right, right,
that is very, very powerful. And yes, I would agree, more powerful than bringing around a rainbow jersey. Honestly,
right,
it's global.
right. Well, hey, the cool thing for you is you've got the rainbow jersey too.
No, I don't. I have a
That,
silver medal and a bronze medal in the
oh,
World Championships.
right.
I was so close, so close.
So close. Let's talk about Rio then. A couple years later, Rio, what were some of the major differences other than doing better?
Yeah.
What were some of the major differences between Rio and London, and what did you love about it? What did you hate about it, or what did you
Yeah.
learn from it?
Well, a major difference was leading into the Rio Olympic Games, I won a silver medal in the World Championship. So that made me a favorite, which definitely makes you very tired because there's a media storm.
Right.
So I would manage the media commitments actually leading into those Olympics. Hindsight's 2020. And I was, I had more experience. I had that first Olympic Games under my belt. So I felt confident going in there. And it's still, any Olympics is an incredible experience. So, those same moments still exist. It's like it still revs me up to put on that Team USA sweatshirt and get the new garb. And in that one, actually, I was able to go through this thing that they call Olympic processing. So they bring, ideally, all Olympians through Houston. It was Houston for the Rio Games, and you get media training and you get fit by Nike and Polo Ralph Lauren for all of your Olympic stuff. So I could try on everything.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's like such a cool experience. I mean, it's like it just builds the hype, and it's a way different experience than showing up and getting your bag of stuff, right? And you get in your own changing room, you get in a changing room and your name's in the mirror and it's like just the full thing. So that was super cool. And I was able to have little Bella's send-off party, like an Olympic send-off party at the airport. So that was very special. I mean, there was probably over 100 little Bellas and families there to like send me off to the Olympics. So, we capitalized on that moment in terms of, I really feel like a lot of those little Bellas involved in the program at that time got to go to the Olympics with me and experience it with me. So that was very special.
We're going to talk about Little Bellas in a second, but before we do, I have one last question about the Olympics.
Yeah.
So you get this trunk full of garb every year, right?
Yeah.
And it's fitted for you. Like only you can wear that stuff because it's fitted for you. And sometimes it's got your name on it and it's got Team USA on it, right? I'm assuming you get to keep all that stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah, you get to keep it all.
So do you just have boxes and boxes of Team USA gear? And are there any rules or regulations for when and where? Like, could you go out to dinner wearing your full Team USA kit?
Oh yeah,
tonight?
anytime.
No rules.
Anytime. So I like to say that I have 4th of July like uniforms
Oh yeah.
set up for like the rest of my life. Yeah, I'll bust out like a hoodie or a top for speaking engagements when I go and, visit Little Bella's chapters for if I'm feeling it, if I just like want to put on one for the day. Yeah, you get sneakers, everything, all the clothing.
So if the Robin's Nest egg sweatshirt from SRAM isn't good enough,
Yes.
you'll rock the Team USA hoodie.
This is always good enough. But yeah, and I've actually given away some of that stuff too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when it feels like the right moment. I mean, that's part of the magic of the Olympics, is getting to share it with other people. So I have given some pieces away to my nieces who are Fraser's sisters' girls. That's pretty cool. And it says Team USA, or, you can tell it's like Olympic garb.
Right.
I've given it away in like Little Bella's auctions to Little Bella's. Yeah, in some of those, but it has to be pretty special. I mean, that's a special thing.
Yeah. Wow. What a special moment that you had with those Olympics.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lea, let's change gears now to talk about Little Bella's, because you've mentioned it a couple times, and I'm sure our audience is like, what the heck is Little Bella's? Like, I don't understand. I'm starting to understand who this Lea girl is, but what the heck is Little Bella's? And so tell us, what is Little Bella's, and where did it come from, and what are they all about?
Yeah, Little Bella's is awesome. It's a nonprofit mentoring on mountain bikes program for girls that my sister and I and another woman, Angela Irvine, started back in 2007. So we saw a need for getting more girls on bikes. And we started with one program in Vermont. And over the years, over the past 15 years, we've expanded to multiple programs around the country, getting, thousands of girls on bikes. So we function as, we have a lot of different programming, but mostly it's, we're powered by our volunteer mentors. So we have about 600 women, awesome women, who volunteer around the country and show up for our programs, weekly. And we have program leads across the country who really are local chapter leads who do everything on the ground. And all of our programs are centrally supported in Vermont, and our headquarters is actually at Cochrane Ski Area, where it all started. So it's kind of come full circle, and it's really fun. It's a pleasure to be a part of and see these girls really positively impacted by the power of the bike and mountain biking.
And what's your role specifically with the organization?
I'm a co-founder, and I sat on the board for 16 or 17 years. And I was a big part in starting what's called our Pro Ambassador program. So, before we started the Pro Ambassador program in 2017, I was running around the country trying to visit as many chapters as I could. If I was in the area, I would go visit a chapter and do a lemonade social with the girls, which is a question and answer. It's a time where they can ask me any questions, and I sign their jerseys and really get a chance to ride with them and hang out. And so we thought, we're brainstorming, how can I clone myself? And we came up with the idea of Pro Ambassadors. So they're female athletes around the country. They're triathletes, mountain bikers, road cyclists, cross-country skiers that link up with their local Little Bella's chapter. Or if they don't have a local chapter, we have them, link them up with one in some way, shape, or form. So we have about 22 Pro Ambassadors signed up.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Tell us about the differences between a program like NICA and Little Bella's. NICA caters to the high schoolers of both, boys and girls. What's different between NICA and Little Bella's?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a great relationship with NICA, and we kind of see ourselves as a step before NICA in the development pipeline. So we function with a younger age demographic, anywhere from 7 to all the way up to 14 years old. And hopefully we're non-competitive. So our job is to get these girls excited about riding bikes. And it's not to create racers, actually, regardless of my very competitive background, but it's really to get girls outside and to love riding bikes and engage with the sport. And so if they want to continue on and they're excited about racing and they're competitive, great. NICA has created a whole network for them to race.
Right.
And yeah, if not, we have taught them how to ride in a group, and create kind of like that group ride for fun mentality. So
Yeah. So cool. What's next for Little Bellas? Do you have a vision to grow it, or like what's the trajectory look like?
yeah, great question. We have been growing at a sustainable pace since we started, right? So we're adding chapters at a pace in which we can sustain. We never want to introduce cycling and a Little Bellas program in a place and then take it away. That's like a nightmare. So our next thing, or not really next, like our current big thing that we're working on is our access program. So it's all about getting programming in cities and developing programming for hard surfaces to really give all girls of all types the opportunity to ride bikes. And we have a lot of partnerships around that. And we're kind of in 3 major metropolitan areas, and we're testing things and we're running programs currently. So that's really exciting, the Access Initiative.
Nice. If there was one thing that you could ask this amazing, great community that's listening for help or assistance or connections or networks, like what's the one thing you would love to see them contribute to Little Bellas with? Like, what door could we open for you? Or like, what's the one thing that would just have a massive impact on Little Bellas?
Yeah, we welcome any way you want to engage in Little Bellas. That we need mentors, we need program leads. If you're excited about starting a program in your area, and like, let's go, hop on our website and see how you can get involved. But mentors, program leads, and also just, we welcome all ideas, right? So we function on the power of building a community and creating a community. It's an pretty much all volunteer effort. So if you have ideas if you're a bike shop or you have a skill set in a way that you think you can help us, reach on out and get involved, pretty much. However you want to pull up your bootstraps, let's go.
Awesome. We will make sure we put links and descriptions in the show notes so that people can find you very easily.
Awesome.
Lea, let's switch to some other cool things that I know you're involved in that are really, really cool. I think from one of our conversations, we talked about you shared some custom kits that you have designed to raise awareness for different organizations. I'm fascinated by that. I love design and I love raising awareness to great organizations. Tell us about that initiative.
Yeah, so last year it was a very exciting year, an opportunity. I had retired from mountain bike World Cup racing, and it was my transition year to kind of like an off ramp. So it was an opportunity for me to race in the US, experience this domestic racing scene that as a World Cup racer, you don't get to do very often. And I had the flexibility, since I wasn't racing World Cups, to really do whatever I wanted. So I wanted to use this opportunity to create a positive impact and raise awareness for these causes and organizations, which I was very passionate about. So to do that, I created 3 custom kits that were inspired by 3 organizations: Little Bellas, Athlete Ally, which is an LGBTQ plus initiative in athletics, creating a more inclusive, safe space in the athletic world and through sport. And then Protect Our Winters, which is an environmental organization and initiative to curb the effects of climate change. So I created these 3 kits inspired by these 3 organizations and to raise awareness. And I raced in them in all 3 throughout the season. So it was very, very cool. It was a great experience.
And who designed the kits?
Yeah, so I did for 2 of, actually, that's a great question. It was different for each kit, I'm realizing. So for Little Bellas, that kit, actually a Little Bella designed that.
Oh,
so
nice.
in Little Bellas, we have a jersey design contest almost annually, and all Little Bellas submit their jersey design and we pick one. And that's the Little Bella jersey for like all of our Little Bellas across the country. It's very exciting. So I took one of those jersey designs and I raced in it. And it was the first time a pro, like an adult, raced in this jersey. So I'm a big fan of the saying, you can't be what you can't see, right? So I thought it was pretty powerful that I was racing in this Little Bella design jersey and the same jersey that they were wearing. So that was a very cool experience. For Athlete Ally, I designed that working together with Garneau, my bike clothing sponsor, and their designers. And the whole concept behind that kit was darkness to light. And it was actually, for those watching, that's the concept behind this custom bike paint job behind me. And it was about, me coming out and being able to live be my true authentic self, kind of coming out of the darkness and into the light. And it was also about all of us really coming out of the darkness of the past couple of years and through the pandemic and kind of coming into the light. So that was that kit design for Athlete Ally. And the third one, Protect Our Winters, actually a good friend from college, Michaela Adrian. She's an artist. And so I reached out to her. She's also an environmental studies major at Middlebury. And I said, hey, Michaela, I want to do this custom kit for Protect Our Winters. She's a big skier as well. And here's kind of my idea, which was a broken heart that kind of signified 2 paths that we could take in these decisions that we make and how to live. And one path was like this green, lush environment, kind of like a whole planet. And then the other path was fire and destruction. And so half of the jersey was kind of on fire and the other half was like this nice green background. So yeah, she drew this heart from like, basically that's all I told her. And then we created this jersey around her drawing, and the broken heart is like the center of the jersey.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are each of these 3 jerseys still for sale? Or are you sold out?
We actually only put one up for sale and that was sold out. That was kind of like a pre-order situation, but stay tuned because I will be designing jerseys and custom kits again for Athlete Ally, Protect Our Winters, so if there's a high demand for them, I would love to sell them and have the proceeds go to these organizations.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope you do, and I certainly hope they become available online because I know a few people that would love to buy them.
Awesome.
Well, cool. Lea, we're going to end on a slightly different route, but thank you so much for sharing those. This last section of our podcast is a little bit of a psych profile so that we can see what your personal preferences are.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tacos or burritos?
Oh, burritos.
Spicy or mild?
More bang for the buck.
True.
You know, I like to think I'm like a spicy person, but
you're not.
I'm not. I'm really not. I'm from Vermont, you know. I can only do what I can.
All right, cold or hot?
Cold.
Rain or snow?
Snow. That's an easy one.
Yes. Mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Cities or suburbs?
Suburbs.
Cars or trucks?
Cars.
Pavement or dirt?
You know the dirt.
Yeah.
All the way.
Gloves or gloveless?
Gloves.
Clipped in or flat pedals?
Clipped in. Oh my gosh. I don't have the skills to ride flats. It's terrifying.
Low pressure or high pressure in your tires?
As low as I can go. I push the limits.
Fix it yourself or take it to a mechanic?
Ooh. Mechanic. I dropped my bike off there today.
And last question, Lea, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Awesome. Well, that's it, Lea Davison. We are almost, well, actually, no, we're out of time.
We're out.
You crushed it. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing your path, all the organizations that you're involved in. Thank you for doing what you do and being a great role model.
Thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Lea, have an awesome day. We'll catch you soon.
You too.
Cheers.
Cheers.